Okay, welcome to Uccello for today's media lunch. And our players are quarterback Heath Parling and defensive back Zach Breen and head coach Matt Mitchell. Coach, you can talk about the Tiffin game, and then we'll move forward on to Northern Michigan.
Sure. I thought we had a good week of preparation. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday we had good practices. Our guys had a good approach. And in my opinion, that showed up Saturday. Offensively, Heath bounced back off of a Findlay game where he had not performed as well as we expect, and was able to take advantage of some matchups outside with some of our wideouts and some of their DBs, and we pitched and catch pretty good. He was 17 of 22. If I had one complaint heading into the locker room at halftime, we dropped 3 balls. We had 3 different guys drop balls that should have been caught. So I look back on the film yesterday. From an offensive perspective, Heath could have been 20 of 22 and maybe even 21 of 22 if we come up with another catch and with 5 touchdowns. So, credit to him bouncing back, and credit to Coach Kaler. We knew that we were going to have to take advantage of some stuff, so it wasn't like we went into a shell and just ran the ball. We went out there and pitched and catch and did a good job. Couple penalties on the offensive side of the ball, and drop balls were probably the biggest negative, or lack of execution at times on our offense. Has got to get cleaned up. I mean, in a game like that where it's 70-7, it doesn't get exposed much, but if you get in a tighter ball game and we're having to deal with 1st and 15s or 2nd and 20s, it's going to be rough for sledding, and we're not going to convert those as frequently as we did Saturday night. And then our wideouts, have got to catch some of those balls. Those were not catches that were difficult. Those should have been routine catches, and they got to perform for us to come up with those catches, because, like I said, when things get tighter, they're going to have to make those plays. Defensively, Tiffin came out and ran the ball a little bit more than we had expected. We made a couple of adjustments with some stuff that we did, and we were able to get a little bit better control of that. I thought our guys in the back end of the defense did a good job of vision and break. If there was something that was disappointing on the defensive side of the ball, we had an opportunity to make an interception on 3 different occasions. One of them would have been a difficult catch, but still the type of catch a good player makes. And the other 2 were gimmies that we dropped. And, some of our turnover issues that we've had through the first 4 games, that falls on the offense, what they're doing. But we have not created those type of turnovers on defense. And so it was disappointing when we had opportunities on the defensive side of the ball to get some turnovers that we did not take advantage to get those turnovers. And so it's not like we don't do ball drills every day in practice. Those guys have got to squeeze the football and take advantage of our opportunities on both sides of the ball when the ball's in the air, being ball hawks and getting it. So, our defensive line put a lot of pressure on their offensive line. A lot of holding calls, which were legitimate based on our guys just doing a good job getting on edges. And the Tiffin offensive line had difficulty blocking our guys. Andre Thomas was once again active, and Ryan Pettis and Denzel Rogers and Brandon Allen. Those guys were running around. And, I thought, again, we picked up where we left off at Findlay just in terms of effort and pursuit and tackling and some of the fundamental stuff that makes you a good defense. After we got into halftime, we wanted to come back out and establish a good drive to start the 3rd quarter with the first group, and those guys were able to do that. And then it allowed us to get into some substitutions with some different kids on both sides of the ball. I really thought that those guys handled that situation well. From the perspective of when the score's 49-0 and you get backups in there, and how motivated are they going to be? I thought those guys played hard. They were really enthusiastic. They were excited to be out there in the field. I also give credit to some of our first-line guys, because they're right there on the sidelines, right with the guys. We had a very interested sideline throughout the remainder of the 3rd and 4th quarter, and I think that speaks a little bit of the team unity that we've had through this rough stretch. Isaiah Grimes is 1 snap away from being our starting quarterback. I thought Isaiah went in there and threw it well. Did a good job, and then you saw the emergence of several redshirt freshmen that had not had a lot of playing time. Were able to get some touches and do some things. Mike Rattay is a redshirt freshman. Keontre Miskell had a nice touchdown grab in the end zone. He's a redshirt freshman. Darrell Pitts, Joe Worth, some of our guys up front defensively. A lot of redshirt freshmen on the defensive side of the ball. So it's the fact that we got to that situation, we're able to put some of those guys in the game, speaks well for the rest of the season, and also hopefully for the the future, that we can get those guys some of those game reps. So I'm looking forward to Northern Michigan. This is going to be a good test of where we're at in 2011. It's a tough place to play. Lake Superior Dome's a hard place to play. It's a different atmosphere. It's a different environment. Northern Michigan has 9 seniors on defense. They've always been very physical on defense. It's always been They've always ran to the ball. They play hard on the defensive side of the ball. Coach Randy Owery's their defensive coordinator. He used to be the former head coach of Saginaw Valley State, and he's always had good defenses throughout the course of his career. So it's going to be a challenge for Heath and the guys on offense because it's going to be a lot different style of play than we had last week against Tiffin. And I think there's going to be some times throughout the course of the game where things aren't going to be clean and they're not going to be easy on the offensive side of the ball. And Heath and the rest of our guys on offense are going to have to grind through some not clean looks. The game is going to be dirty, and I don't mean from a sportsmanship standpoint. I mean from a X's and O's, and things aren't always going to be as clean as maybe they've been. And I think that's going to be the challenge for our offense. Is we're going to have to show up with mentality that we're going to take care of the ball and that things aren't going to be clean all the time, and we're going to have to grind through some snaps. Their offense is obviously centered around Carter Kopach, who's coming off an injury last year that he suffered at halftime of our game. And, he's their whole team offensively. If you look at yardage gained rushing, not net, but the yardage gained rushing, he's their leading rusher. Some of that is by design and some of that is by him scrambling. He scrambles a lot. He scrambles to throw big chunk plays. He scrambles to run. He's a good athlete. He's a senior. He's been around the block. He knows things. And he really, makes them go. Their starting tailback has been out. I don't know if he's going to play Saturday, but Privatelli's been out. So the rushing game the past couple weeks has been limited just because of, I think, due to some inexperience at the running back position. Of their 70 snaps last week, they threw it on 50 of the 70 against Wayne State. And so that's going to be a challenge for us on defense. They'll go 5 wide receivers, and they'll jump around a lot of different position groups. So it's going to be different than it was with Capello last week, just in terms of scheme. There's a lot more vertical threat. Most of the passes against Tiffin were not very, there wasn't very many balls thrown down the field. Carter Kopach will throw it down the field, but, if we're too soft, then he'll pull it down and run it, and it's going to be a challenge for us. So I'm looking forward to this game. I'm looking forward to this game for our team. I'm looking forward to this game for our coaching staff. I think it's going to be, it's going to be a tough game, and our approach and our preparation and the trip up there and how we handle ourselves is going to be difficult. And I think that'll tell us a little bit more about where we're at than maybe necessarily happens Saturday night.
Coach, in a weird way with this, difficult stretch coming up with games and kind of thing, is it almost like a second season now that you kind of know the playoffs maybe aren't there and the GLIAC and all that?
I think, it's a challenge to our team. It's a challenge to our coaching staff. I would agree from the standpoint of, we've kind of been talking about one game at a time, and Northern Michigan's the next game. It's going to be a tough game, and we're kind of looking at just trying to, take them as they come. That's a huge cliche in coaching, but I don't know if there's any other way for us to approach things right now. And, I told our staff when we get back here this afternoon with these players, we're going to be very nitpicky on this tape from the Tiffin game. We're going to overcoach on the Tiffin game. There's not going to be any 70-7 and pushing the fast forward button and blowing through the stuff because we still need to get better. So our meetings are probably going to be fairly critical this afternoon and how we approach things, and our guys watching themselves on tape and taking care of the little things, stances and that type of stuff. And that's where we're at right now. That's the things that we have to focus on because some of the other stuff, like you mentioned, is not out there. So it's about the little things and the details, and hopefully those make a big difference as we come up on this stretch of games.
Heath, how important is it to look at a game tape like that and not just be satisfied when you look at the final score and the final stats and knowing that, you guys blew out Tiffin?
Yeah, it's very important. I thought we did some good things and some bad things, but getting back on the tape this afternoon, it's going to be more important to look at the process over just the product, like you said, 70-7, which is what Coach Mitch, stresses a lot. It's always process over product. So even though, it may look like, we did everything right, 70-7, we definitely made some mistakes. I know from my perspective, offensively, and I'm sure defense did as well. So it's very important just to not, blow through that game and just get everything down from the game. So if something would present itself again like that, we could handle it better.
Coach, talk too a little bit about, the road hasn't exactly been kind to you lately, dating back to last season.
Yeah, well, the bottom line is we've lost 4 of our last 5 road games. Starting with Michigan Tech, we were able to go to Saginaw and win, and we got drilled at Augustana and then the first 2 of this year. So I've talked about that. We've talked about that with our team, talked about that with our seniors. Some of that you don't want to make too much of that the fact that they're getting on the bus is the reason we're losing. It still comes down to playing football and the opponent that you're facing and some of those things. And again, like Coach Goff at Tiffin is trying to get that program building. I'm seeing it, but they're still ways away. If we would have played Tiffin on the road, do I think we would have lost because it was a road game at Tiffin? Not necessarily. I think, it's still about your preparation, your opponent, but you're right, Mike. The facts of the matter are we have lost 4 of the 5. So we've got 2 back-to-back games that are going to be long-distance games, and they're both going to present some challenges on both sides of the ball. And so us getting prepared for that and taking care of that is going to be important. And like I've said in some of these other weeks, our seniors and their legacy here as we move forward will be dictated, based on how they approach things and take our team and the leadership role that they have. Given these next 2 weeks, we're going to be on a bus for a while.
You talk about a tough game coming up. I mean, is it going to be important to get a running game going in that sense then too? When you think of, I don't know, smash mouth or whatever.
Well, I think so. I think that's going to be critical. They're going to present some challenges, and if we can't run the ball, those challenges would get further escalated. It's just going to get magnified more. So we can't go out there and throw it 60 times. We got to be able to run the ball. So Norman Schuford and Hershey Jackson are going to have to be able to run the ball. And what I would say, my feeling is that unlike maybe some other games where we've gotten some, been pretty consistent with the gains of being 6, 7, 8, 10. We've been able to rattle off consistent gainers. That may not happen Saturday based on the way they play. We might have, some plays where we get it 1 or 2 yards. That's not what we're looking for, but that may happen. And the resiliency of our offensive line, and I think more importantly, the patience and resiliency of our backs to realize we have to keep plugging away and grinding, I think will be a key to the game, that they've got to just keep running the ball hard, and we've got to keep approaching things the right way because it is going to be dirty and it is going to be messy at times. And if that affects us, then we're going to have problems.
Heath, how does that affect you? Does it make you feel, be more precise maybe with the offense or with so much running going there, does that put more focus on you being accurate and that kind of thing?
Yeah, there's going to be a lot more, checks or, audibles this week for me. Knowing the run looks is going to be important. There's going to be a bunch of defensive fronts. In the back end with the coverage, they're going to mix it up a little bit. So, yeah, it's going to, I have to be on my game this week. Definitely have to be prepared and focused in meetings. At practice, everything's going to have to be done right the first time because, practice is just preparation for the game, and how we practice is how we're going to play on Saturday. So I'm definitely going to have to be focused and prepared this week, but I'm looking forward to it.
Zach, is this going to be the longest week of preparation you've had maybe in your career now?
No doubt, it definitely is. I've been waiting. It's been a lot harder than I anticipated these past 5 weeks, but I'm excited to be back out there with these guys and just fighting every last breath we have in our bodies just to win each and every last game on our schedule.
What was it like watching from the sidelines these past 5 weeks when obviously the results probably aren't what anyone on the team expected?
It's been tough. It's been very tough, knowing that I'm standing there as a spectator, not being able to have a chance at all to help my teammates out. Watching them go out there and give it all they got, just bad things happening out there on the field, and knowing that they're not fighting amongst each other, they're not doing anything to lose the game besides not executing. And it's tough watching that, and it's tough not being able to help them at all.
How prepared do you feel like you will be going into this game, not having kind of that, being a while since you've had game action?
I'm going to feel like I'm going to be prepared against Northern with their schemes that they do. I was actually I was going to go up to the football center and watch some film with Chuck Hill when I got the call from Coach about coming in here today. But I was thinking about it as well last night. I haven't hit somebody in 11 months since Augustana. I haven't hit somebody in 11 months, so that's going to be a big thing that I'm going to have to practice on this week is hitting somebody, hitting the bag. We don't hit in practice, so tagging off and doing everything perfect in practice, so that way when it comes to game time, when it comes to hitting somebody, I'll be there, be ready.
You feel like once you get that first tackle under your belt, you'll be able to just get in the game a little bit more, get in the zone a little bit?
Oh yeah, I think once that first hit happens, it's every game. Until that first play, until you get hit the first time, you're always nervous, you're always anxious to go. After that first hit, it's just going to be back in the flow of things.
Coach, how nice is it going to be to have him back in the lineup?
It's going to be great. He's he's a type of football player that you can put a lot of different positions, and he's very intelligent and can do different things. So we've played him at safety, we've played him at inverted player, we've played him down around the line of scrimmage. So that's what we've kind of been spending, I'd say, the last 24 hours on defensive staff, is looking at Northern Michigan, trying to figure out, how is Zach going to fit into our defensive scheme, and where are we going to play him and get him involved in the game. And along with Andre Thomas has been a consistent playmaker, and Brad Howard, and we're trying to fit the pieces of the puzzle together. So it's going to be nice to have him back. Zach and I have a good coach-athlete relationship, and there's obviously we've screwed some stuff up in that 3-game losing streak, and there's bigger picture stuff. But on a personal level, it's been tough, just from the standpoint of when that whole thing shook down in January. And I'm sure, again, on a personal level, we had the goal of maybe trying to get ourselves rolling and get to a point where we got Zach back, that things have been intact. And that's been difficult, Mike. It's been hard for him. I think it's been hard on us and hard on the coaching staff. I would say his teammates were pretty excited after the game when we won, knowing that Zach was going to be back next week. And so he's a big part of this team, and I think he's got a great approach to things. He wants to get out there and play football. He likes playing football, and he likes being around these guys, and just going to get out there and get going. From
a coach's perspective, how do you think he handled this first 5? I guess the whole situation.
Yeah, unbelievable. It was incredibly difficult. Just the way the whole thing shut down from January until now, and there's some of the stuff, like, it's hard because you're talking about 3 different entities here. You're talking about Zach Breen, the coaching staff, and the NCAA, and it was a very difficult situation. I think when we talked about this a little bit it has to fall on the coaching staff, that we did not do a proper job maybe with the education standpoint. Part of it has to fall on Zach's shoulders, and lack of understanding what was going on. And then I still think, like, the way things were handled at that level at the NCAA, I don't think they're free of blame either. And so all parties involved, it's been very difficult. And from that standpoint, we took our medicine. We were pretty upfront about things, both Zach and us as a program, and we fought through it. And like I said, I'm just a little disappointed that we're not in a different spot as we get him back at this situation. But Zach has handled himself incredibly well. He wanted to do a bunch of stuff on scout team at practice, and I was like, slow your roll down. I don't need you getting hurt being a scout team DB or something like that. But there's been a lot of times Zach has jumped in and done stuff in practice. And here's one little thing that to us makes a big difference. It shows me who Zach Breen is. And we do all of our pregame meals, and anytime we're eating meals on the road, we dismiss for the meals. We have buffets. We dismiss them by class. And we always go seniors first, and then go juniors, and our sophomores and our freshmen. They go B first. I dismiss the seniors. Zach doesn't go up. He waits until every player in our roster has eaten, and he's the last kid to go up. And that, to me, shows who he is. That's who he is. He's not playing. So even though he's a part of the team doing everything, he's not jumping up with the rest of the seniors. He's the last person to eat after all the freshmen have ate. And I can't tell you, just that little anecdote tells you kind of who he is and how he's approached things. And so we're glad to have him back for those last 5, and we're going to make the best of it.
You touched on this a little bit, but have you determined how he's going to work into that back 7 or whatever?
Well, in some of our 3-down stuff, when we go with our some of our Okie personnel, he's going to be playing some of one of the inverted positions, and Chuck Hill and Brandon Allen have been playing a little bit of that, so I think it'll allow Brandon Allen to get more down on D-line. And then some of our regular 4-down stuff, we're going to play him some at nickel and some at safety. So I think there's 3 positions he could possibly be playing Saturday afternoon, and some that's dictated on Northern Michigan's personnel too.
Coach, a number of players saw their first action, Matt Judon, Deontay Hurst. Talk a little bit about how that helps in the maturation of them throughout the years.
It was big for those guys to get out there, and it was a little bit of a decision from the coaching staff standpoint. I'll take there's a guy named Cam Bradfield who's doing okay for himself in the NFL. When he came out of high school, we redshirted him the first year, and he wasn't quite ready to play. And so we redshirted him again. We can do that Division II. They can't do that Division I. So he was actually here 6 years. And I obviously helped Cam. So in a couple of these guys, we were kind of toying with the decision to do that. And then, we just decided that, hey, these kids come here, they're on scholarship, play football, we're going to play them. So we had not played Matt Judon, Isaiah Dunning, Keontre Miskell. I could name, 6 or 7 guys that we had not played necessarily. Part of that is because we didn't have opportunities to play them because we were losing ball games. But we had that opportunity Saturday. We got those guys in. I think it's critical for them now. They've had practice reps. Now they get game reps when things aren't maybe as clean. And now we can get in with our coaches and coach them up. And they're not too far away from possibly playing this year based on injuries, and a lot of those guys I think are going to be a big part of things in 2012. So any coaching we could possibly get would be there. And I point back to same thing with Heath. Heath last year as a redshirt freshman, we got him some reps behind Kyle, and I think that helped him be able to do what he's able to do here in 2011 was those little extra reps and being out in that environment, the atmosphere. And it's just little things too, like traveling with the bus, pregame meals, meetings. I think that helps you as you head into your next year, which a lot of these guys, I think can help us out next year as sophomores.